what lessons have you learned? It's like, find people who are not only the richest in the world, but they are desperate for what you are providing.
Yeah. Very good advice.
Not only.
I've never met anyone like it.
He could hack anybody's phone in a matter of minutes. Who is that guy? Who can do that?
Thomas is the most interesting man in the world.
He's one of my favorite people on the planet. Inventor.
Wicked smart.
The master of cutting corners.
If you had a dead body in your trunk, who would you call?
He would get arrested immediately in a lineup.
I stood in line to get his autograph.
You know, his mouth can barely keep up to his brain.
I don't actually know what Pablos does.
A hacker magician.
Man of the future. Future.
Okay, so this thing, presumably you guys are going to build it. I guess first market's going to be data centers.
Yeah, data centers, small and large.
Yeah, so that'll be the megawatt scale, 10 megawatt and beyond.
Yeah.
And what they'll need is a source of something that burns, whatever it is.
That's right. Which can include, if you've got a lot of land, you get solar as cheap as you can get it.
Okay.
You get the cheap form of the hydrogen electrolysis.
Oh yeah.
That you can just clip in, and you can put as much power into that as you want.
Right.
And even though it's a bit less efficient, it's very, very inexpensive on both the solar and the hydrogen side. And then you end up with an excess of hydrogen as a buffer. And
got it.
It's like the first buffer that you want to use is your batteries, and the next is you want to use your hydrogen, and then after that is your fuel, which you could produce methane, like you say, in a chamber for
cool.
storage. Yeah.
So okay, so a data center wants this because they need power anyway. They need electrons. If what they've got is LNG or something else as a fuel supply, this is an easy way for them to get to electrons. That's base load, because even though you said you want to solve energy storage,
yeah,
they
want dispatchable power that can actually follow with a fair amount of capacitance actually on the data, and they actually want it DC. They don't necessarily want it to be AC.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah.
AC is a stopgap.
Yeah.
We converted all to DC at the end anyway.
Yeah, people are moving to 800 volts DC.
Yeah, I mean, I think data center of the future is going to be all DC.
Yeah.
So that's which is what the solar cells are putting out. So then going to how would this play out in other, I mean, I guess in that case you'll build something like a, shipping container scale thing that has gas going one end and electricity coming out the other end. And then what's it look like? I mean, what other applications does this make sense for? Does it make sense to make planes fly off of this? Because we can't. Yeah,
so I think that there's some interesting, quite a lot of interesting propulsion from eVTOL at smaller scale to, it's basically you have an electric turbofan, you operate this, and you can have a lot of them along the wing, and then all the way to are there applications in doing this for potential supersonic, potentially MHD type propulsion, potentially space, potentially magnetohydrodynamic.
And let's start with eVTOL, simple things. So right now, I load it up with batteries. I get to fly for 9 minutes, and then I have to land and charge.
Yeah, right. So there's your right.
So what you're saying is we would basically get the same range calculation as a Cessna or something in an eVTOL, because I could just fill it up with
vastly more energy density.
Yeah. And then so now we can use electric motors for propulsion if we want. We don't need to deal with the, maintenance and the manufacturing difficulty of jets and those things.
Yeah, it's kind of really instructive if you look at people who are really motivated to have long range and sort of heavy lift. Okay. So I have some friends. They make the best wildfire protection drones, and they carry 100 pounds of water and they squirt it, and those guys would love
1,000 pounds of water.
They would love to have they use batteries, and that sets the range.
Yeah.
And there's slightly more water than there is battery, and that means that the range is shorter, and as a result, but if you try to solve the problem with engines, which people do, the amount of bespoke kind of just wacky engineering associated with it, you now have this vibrating loud thing of a certain size that's also heavy and it's hot. So what you want to do is you want to be almost as good as batteries in terms of usability.
Sure.
But vastly higher energy density and comparable power density. You still want to probably rely on power batteries for your sort of capacitance short-term stuff.
Sure.
But it doesn't have to be an hour.
Yeah, but
give me
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit
of chemical battery if you need it, but you're not. You also don't have the charge cycle.
Yeah. There's a Andrei Karpathy talks about Waymo, and that when you're engineering to 5 nines, 6 nines, a really high level of reliability, you need to have every 9 takes about the same amount of work. Right. And so we think that basically because we can use any fuel, this once we get it really great, means that it's well suited to being all the way from that deep backup all the way to base power instead of just having to stack batteries until they're too expensive or too heavy.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully people have a sense of what you're trying to build. What's the hard part here? Why isn't it done? Is it really going to work? I mean, is this a fringe science project? Is it where are we at with this thing? And why? I guess it would be interesting to know have you cracked it? Is it working? I know you guys.
I think we're hot on the trail. We think we've cracked a bunch of the hard problems, but there's still probably many hard problems that will reward cleverness in order to actually get to, hey, we have a product that's being made in large quantities and people.
Yeah, but hard problems on what scale? Hard problems on these engineering to make it better, cheaper, smaller.
It's interesting. So why haven't other people? I ask myself every single day, why haven't people thought about this?
Yeah, you're not going to figure it out.
I spoke with Richard Swanson, founder of SunPower. He's one of the original sort of solar greats. What I did not know is that he started out with doing concentrated photovoltaics and also thermophotovoltaics.
Yeah.
So using a tungsten emitter, he achieved 26% efficiency at 500 suns in the 90s. Oh. So that's much better than I need.
Yeah, good.
Anyway, I asked him, hey, why didn't anybody think of this?
Yeah.
And he said that I did think about using sodium as an atomic emitter into the flame. People knew about that. But the challenge of recovering the sodium was left as an exercise to the student, which is commonly done.
Okay.
And B, he thought that the brightness of a flame that was seeded with something like this would be capped by the standard Boltzmann emission spectrum for the kinetic temperature of that flame.
Okay.
And since it was so narrow band, it wouldn't be very bright. And he was doing broadband. And that's what the typical the typical theory would expect this. And this is not true.
Yeah, cool.
And there's a lot of interesting physics here.
Yeah, okay, but
so that's one part. And then the other part is to get to really high temperatures so that you have these really good brightnesses, and so you can start to push these efficiencies into the really sort of unique physics regimes. Nobody was really using heat exchangers that would recuperate up past 600-800 degrees, basically the temperature the metals can tolerate. Okay. And even at 800, you're starting to need all this high nickel alloy and stuff. Mm-hmm. So people had not solved using ceramics.
Right.
So there are partial answers.
Okay.
But people hadn't deftly solved it. So,
but you guys are well into that now. Like
yeah. No, we have.
No,
we now are like, we think we're the best in the world. We think we really know how to get this. Of course, now we want to get yield rates into the 90s and be able to. But already it's like things are working in our favor here.
Yeah.
And basically the trick is, because the ceramics are so hot and because so hard. And because the thermal expansion and contraction across the thermal gradients and the cycles means that you have this thermal expansion plus the hardness means that there's a huge amount of stress.
Okay.
But you can kind of invert it, and if you have just a small amount of relaxation, a small amount of strain relief, then that relieves a huge amount of stress.
Okay.
So the problem is where you have sharp corners instead of curves. So you basically make a unit cell system, a whole system, out of structures that are curved everywhere.
Yeah.
All curves.
Like humans.
And like some, quite a lot like nature. Yeah.
And so that, I mean, I've observed that around here. Maybe we'll take some pictures. But the thing, there's no part of this that you haven't been able to demonstrate at some scale. There's no part of this that you can't do. Now you have the engineering job of putting it together, and it's something that could be productized, but we know it's going to work, and we don't really know for sure what the maximum efficiency you can get is, but we know it's going to be good. So you're off to the races here. And what's the plan for the sodium? Is the sodium liquid?
So we use sodium chloride salt, regular table salt.
Yeah.
And when it heats up, first it becomes liquid and like a gas, just like any other material like water. So you can think of it as it's like boiling. But the way that it transports itself in the system is that it wicks itself.
Okay.
So there's all of these labyrinthine passages in the heat exchanger, and that's where it deposits, and if it's hot, then it forms a surface of liquid that's actually transparent.
Okay.
And it moved by surface tension, it's moved by gravity, and it's moved towards the area that's hottest, which is where it's evaporating. Mm-hmm. And so this allows us to passively drive the transport of the salt throughout the system. And this is what was left to the students by previous effort. And this was not our initial idea. It was sort of like we noticed that this was happening in our experimentation and decided, hey, it seems to be wicking. Yeah. Can we design an entire system around this, where itself in the heat exchanger, you're actually capturing the energy, the latent heat of the salt as it condenses and as it evaporates.
Wow.
So that was, anyway, this sort of started because, just because of the amount of experimentation that we would do, but also experimentation around, we were trying to make lightsabers for Halloween and things like this, real lightsabers.
Right.
And the most durable materials were these ceramic that, even when you didn't directly salt them, they were like emitting sodium.
Wow.
And I'm like, how is this working? And so it turns out this molten salt wets alumina and goes into all the pores.
Yeah.
And it actually makes it stronger, it densifies it, seals it.
Oh.
So it transports through the system. So the whole thing works like sort of like a sponge, like waterboarding or.
Yeah. Cool. When are the lightsabers gonna go on?
Well,
Kickstarter.
We're not sure exactly how to market that. As soon as I have one that's really good, I'll definitely want to show it off. But do I want to put this in the hands of people? I'm like, maybe.
Boring Company did.
Yeah. Not a lightsaber.
Yeah.
So I figured out probably the critical thing to make quite a long blade. But then what everyone wants to know is, hey, does it make the whooshing sound, and can you duel with it? And I'm like, no, not yet. We don't know how to make that work.
I mean, that sounds a little PG-13, but okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. It's a side quest.
Well, in a previous life, I helped start a sword fighting school.
Really?
And so I have a lot to bring to that particular problem. So when the time comes, let me know.
Oh, good. So here are the elements. So you can stabilize a flame by a laminar flow element, and you can stabilize a flame by swirling it.
Yeah.
So with our 3D printing, you can make a nozzle that does both. It swirls and is a laminar flow element.
Okay.
This is extremely stable, and it allows you to put energy into the blade. But then in addition to that, so that keeps it stable. But in addition to that, they drive currents, and with the salt seeding, it's a plasma. So you can actually have a significant amount of basically flux repulsion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know how far this can be done, but it might be possible to do it quite far. But you need a significant energy source. So it's basically everything is sort of tied together into okay.
Which means the blades would actually.
Yeah, they'd. You wouldn't be able to,
block one, but you'd feel it.
You won't be able to block bullets, and you won't be able to block blaster shots that don't work. But you could. Another blade that also is
made the same way.
Yeah, just what's the deal here? Yeah. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's because you're obsessing about this since.
The lightsaber is so primal.
Yeah.
It's just that's what made Star Wars so successful. Is that any kid can just immediately internalize what it means to beat someone over the head with a stick, and it's cooler if it's hot and bright. So
So and able to slice through steel doors.
Yeah, I'll slice through some steel doors. That would be rad. At some point, you had to decide okay, I'm going to leave academia, which leaves forget a whole class of things you could work on. You
can kind of come back,
Well, I guess you could come back.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I just reach out to the professors. I just work with them directly.
I think that's
we're sort of which I would recommend. By the way,
that is amazing insight because, I've hired a bunch of PhDs to work on inventions.
Yeah.
And it takes a year to deprogram them from the cult indoctrination of academia.
Yeah. Go to the top professors who are over the status thing.
Yeah, right.
Then it works.
So you can still go work with them.
Yeah.
You can't play the same status game anymore.
Yeah. Whatever.
I don't know why you'd want to, but a lot of people are indoctrinated into that, and I think that's what keeps them from, It scares them to think of.
Yeah, but they know something is wrong. A lot of things have gotten too much into the status game, and so that means that there's not really communication going on.
Yeah.
Then you meet with people who really know their stuff. They make it understandable.
Right.
Right. So this is a big signal.
Yeah.
Don't go to the second players. Go to the real players, and then things are a lot simpler.
Interesting.
Yeah. When we were tapping into this, so we're kind of pick something technologically that has a huge amount of headroom. So I say, energy density. Okay, I've got 70x over the competition. I can afford to mess up a little. It's okay, pick something I can do with the minimum amount of money so that I can get past this necessity of these existential financing rounds.
Yeah.
They're heavily dilutive. And then do it as visibly as possible and make it as tangible as possible so that, not so that I can get customers. We could work for one group or another group, but really figure out who needs it the most.
Okay.
Which is two things in the Venn diagram. They need it the most and they have the most money.
Yeah, right, okay.
It's what lessons have you learned? It's find people who are not only the richest in the world, but they are desperate for what you are providing.
Yeah. Very good advice.
Not only. Yes.
Yeah, well, in some sense.
And so that basically became the AI people.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So
right.
For you, AI is certainly the demand driver.
It's the demand driver for everything.
And that's great. We're going to build, and I think it's, people get off the rails because they think this is, oh my God, making rich people richer.
Yeah.
But you got to subsidize the development of every new technology with rich people. And I think it's in some sense like our lot in life as Americans. Yeah, you get basically born rich, and your job is to waste as much money as possible in your lifetime on cool gadgets and shit.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what works so that we can get economies of scale up, get the cost down, and then make those things possible for the rest of the world where they didn't get born rich. And I think that's a reasonable way to think about.
No, I think so. Yeah.
About inequality and about what's happening in the world.
I look at it somewhat differently.
Yeah. I'm probably
which is that okay, there's the capitalist noblesse oblige, great, that motivates some. I kind of just look at it as like the previous system that one would hope would be sufficient to be a fertile ecosystem in which energy innovations, which are necessary, could emerge and sustain themselves.
Okay.
Simply was not true.
Yeah.
For a wide variety of things, everyone agreed would be great, but like the system was fucky in some way, and like as a result of sort of compounding unseriousness in timelines and scale and consistency of funding and focus, essentially has a 0% success rate.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have the most highly capitalized companies in the world desperately needing power infrastructure, you can build on top of that. You can say, hey, you need something, we need something. Suddenly this flips everything on its head, because now there are private companies, they're very well capitalized, they need as much power as possible in one place. But they might not need all of the power and all of the backup that they need. They might still want to be connected to the grid. So these are positive sum exchanges that can easily be made.
I think it's the hyperscalers that are going to save us.
Yeah.
We couldn't build these things before when the oil industry was the biggest industry on earth.
Right. No, they were too conflicted.
Yeah, I think Congress was staffed by Shell and Chevron.
People tried. And like we had investments from Total Energy.
Okay.
And
cool.
like they were super excited.
Good.
And then like Christophe de Margerie died in Moscow, and like the guy who was like head of New Energies like lost out to the guy who shut down refining capability in Europe. And I'm like, oh no. And then like the price of oil plummeted. It's like, all right, oil majors are not going to be the solution here. but hyperscalers, neoclouds.
Yeah.
This is actually incredibly fertile and better organizing.
Yep.
And will do, and more efficient than a bunch of different government programs where it's not really clear what the outcome is intended to be.
Super cool.